Welcome to Ken's Corner Podcast, Season 2. It's time. Are you ready? Now here we go with your host, Ken Judge.
Hey everyone, this is Ken from Ken's Corner, and I'm very excited to have my special guest here today. It's been a while since we've been wanting Miss Nova to be with us, and now she is. How are you today, Miss Nova?
I'm great. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. We're going to get right into our first question because my internet connection is really not good today, and I'm very sorry about that. We just want to know about your journey, how you started. Where did your wrestling journey begin?
Sure. My wrestling journey commenced, I would say, in about December of 2018. I am a working law enforcement professional. I was working in Sudbury at the time. And there's just one evening I was at work. I was working out in the gym and Raw was on TV. And this is something I've been watching since I was little. I just had this really random epiphany. And I just said to myself, you know what? Fuck it. I'm not getting any younger. Tomorrow's never promised. And you know what? I just want to run the ropes. I want to find somewhere where I can run the ropes and see if I'm any good at it. So I'm by myself at nighttime. I decided to just do Google searches, seeing like what's around me, what's around the Sudbury area in terms of wrestling. Nothing other than Rock Solid Wrestling, but Rock Solid Wrestling didn't have a training facility. They just put on shows and they're based out of Sudbury. So all I knew was that the owner was in Sudbury, and so his name is Tornado. So what I did is, because the Sudbury was the closest connection to me for wrestling, I Facebook messaged Rock Solid Wrestling. I ended up speaking to Tornado, and we actually met locally at a local Starbucks, and he told us at this point, I'm from a very small town outside of Sudbury, and I grew up watching Raw, WCW, and that's all I knew. I didn't even know indie wrestling existed much, other than the fact that there are shows that happen locally, but I never even saw one. So he basically sat with me and we discussed over a coffee uh, the indie wrestling business and what to expect. This may or may not be something for me, but he can take me into his next show and just show me around. I can sit and watch, and then the rest is history. After that, we actually began, he was teaching me chain wrestling in his basement in Sudbury, because again, there's no training facility around for hours and there's no ring. So he taught me the basics. He taught me chain in his basement. We would have to like push aside all the couches. So we would do train that way. Once I was ready for a suplex, he'd pull out like a mattress out of his spare bedroom and throw it on the ground. We had to make sure it's done straight because, you know, there's the family room TV right beside me. And so that's basically how I started. And then after that, we needed a ring. I needed to learn the universal at least. So he has connections with Crossbody Studios in Kitchener, Ontario. And from there, I began doing a couple road trips here and there and working with Big Ben Ortmans with regards to universal and learning just different lockups and stuff like that. I eventually then, because I couldn't retain mentally every couple weekends learning this material. I needed something consistent. That's how I learn. I learn by doing. So I ended up enrolling myself at Tyson Duke's Wrestling Factory in London, Ontario for one entire month, where I took 1 month's worth of holidays for the entire year of, I think it was 2020 or 2019. And I moved to London, Ontario, lived out of a bedroom for a month and went to class every day. And there the rest is history.
Yeah, that's great. That's a great story. I actually watched you for my first time up in what was it called? Burley Falls. Actually, it was the first time I seen Korthamania up at Danny Orlando's. That's where we met. Not sure you remember that day, but that is since then I
That
wanted
was
to
a very memorable show.
It was a great show. You actually mentioned Sudbury. You're from Sudbury, so I actually was going to ask you this question later, but I'm going to speed it up and just talk to you a bit about your upcoming show, Project X, out of Sudbury.
Yes.
Can you tell us who you're wrestling that day, and any excitement you have for wrestling right there in your home area?
Yes. So this show is very special to me because I have only wrestled once in Sudbury, and it was before the pandemic. And that turnout was massive with regards to people who came to see me, my friends, my family, my entire volleyball team came to support me, which was amazing. So I haven't wrestled in Sudbury since before the pandemic. So this is my very first show since then. I'm very excited. And again, before the pandemic, when I did that, I was just starting out in wrestling. So now, I've been around for a bit now. So what, 2.5, 3 years, but lots of reps, lots of shows. And I think my fans are going to see a significant difference in my craft and my skill sets. So I'm very excited to come home and see everybody. And then with regards to the Project X show, I will be wrestling up and comer Zondra Lee. She is a younger trainee out of Northland Wrestling in North Bay, Ontario. She's probably a couple matches in. I think when I wrestled her a month or so ago, I was her second or third match. And for someone so young, she was able to keep up. And I think if she continues to train in 2 to 5 years, she'll be amazing. I mean, I'm a bit jealous. I wish I started learning wrestling at her age. I only started wrestling at 31 years old. So she's in her teenage years. And I think this is amazing, is the fact that she's picking this up so early in her career and she's able to consistently do an entire match. And it was great. I'm very proud of her and I'm very excited to wrestle her again.
That's amazing. Now I'm going to go back to your first match. Let's talk about your very first match.
My very first match was against Violet Lee with Smash Wrestling. And this was I think it was end of March of 2019. And I was in London, Ontario. So I'm very thankful to have been able to start with Smash. That's a very big company. And Tyson Dukes trained both Violet Lee and I. So I think he was very proud to be able to see one of his graduated students, Violet Lee, and then one of his newer students, myself, be able to create a wonderful match together for my very first one.
That's amazing. Now, my next question for you, Nova, is what do you consider your style of wrestling? And what is your finishing move, by the way?
Sure. So because I'm still an evolving wrestler, and now that the pandemic is kind of subsided a little bit and we're able to wrestle regularly, I'm now again being able to find my skill sets, my strengths, what to incorporate in my matches. So the type of wrestler I'm just gonna say I call myself the elite athlete because this is true. Growing up my entire life, I've been the star athlete on any sports team I've been on. I possess those natural athletic skill sets, and I also have a volleyball background. So in terms of my wrestling style, I would say that I love to incorporate a lot of explosiveness, a lot of plyometrics, a lot of jumping from afar or jumping off the top rope, and just showing what I can do in that sense.
And what is your finishing move?
And then my finishing move now is the Supernova. So it's essentially a 5-star frog splash off the top turnbuckle.
Oh, wow. I would love to see that. That sounds amazing.
Thank you.
Do you have a favorite match in your career that you could speak about?
I would say my favorite match would be my second match. And it was in the same weekend as my debut weekend. And that was against Jody Threat. And it meant a lot to me because what not a lot of people know is that Jody and I are actually ex-college classmates.
Mhm.
So we both went to college together and attended the same classes. And lo and behold, we run into each other again later on in life, both as wrestlers. And
Mhm.
Jody is a quickly evolving wrestler. She picks up on things very quickly. And I think at that time she was probably just maybe a year or two in, but she was so advanced for me that I felt like, considering this was my second ever match, I was able to learn a lot off of her in that time.
That's great. Can you tell us about any championships that Nova's won?
Sure. I've won the True Patriot Championship title with Northland Wrestling. And then I've won the women's championship of Canada title belt with GCW.
And what was it like to win a championship? How was that feeling for you?
An amazing feeling, of course. I have watched wrestling on TV growing up. So, and I never even pictured myself being a wrestler, honestly. I didn't think this would ever happen. Again, where I reside in my hometown, we don't have those resources. We don't have a ring. We don't have a facility. So being able to watch it on TV growing up and then finally winning my first title, which was at Northland Wrestling, it was amazing.
That's
And
awesome.
mind you, as well, I was the very first woman to win the True Patriot Championship title, and it was in an intergender match at Northland Wrestling. So that was exciting too.
That's really cool. My last thing that I'm going to do, I do with most of you wrestlers, well, anyone that comes on Ken's Corner. I'm just going to leave the floor open for anything that you would like to add to this interview today.
Sure. I guess I wasn't prepared for this, but I guess off the top of my head, I would just want to let anybody know, especially the younger generation, that if you continue to work hard towards something and just stay consistent, you will get there. It's the people that become lazy or become comfortable in their life and then they slowly stop doing things. They won't achieve their goals. And I'm turning 35 next month. And so it's never too early or too late to start something that you want to do. You have so much life ahead of you. And again, as a law enforcement professional, tomorrow is never promised. You never know what's going to happen tomorrow. Your life can suddenly change. You may be on your deathbed tomorrow wondering to yourself, what if? What if I was healthy? I would have done this. So do it now.
I love it. Thank you so much for joining me today, Nova. My name's Ken. I'm from Ken's Corner. It's been my honor to have Nova, Miss Nova, professional wrestler, with me today. Thank you so much, and you have a great day, Nova.
Thank you for having me.
Hello, Wrestling World. It's Miranda Daw here with Our Neighborhood Realty Brokerage coming to you today. When you are ready to power bomb your way into the real estate world, please give me a call, 705-927-8458. If you're ready today, give me a call. My website is mirandadaw.ca, and I'm also offering my gardening services with all my listings, even the buyer side. Give me a call. I'm here for you anytime. Miranda Daw with Our Neighborhood Realty Brokerage, 705-927-8458.